In 1959, America was living in a chrome-plated dream. Cars were no longer just a means of transportation, but a declaration of an entire era. The higher the tail fins, the larger the curved glass, the shinier the American dream became. And in the midst of that euphoria, Chevrolet created something no one had ever imagined, a vehicle that was half sedan, half pickup, wrapped in the boldest batwing design in history. They called it El Camino, the road in Spanish. But for Chevrolet engineers, it was the road to a daring experiment, blending the style of the Impala with the utility of a pickup truck. The result was a machine that left all of Detroit stunned. This is not just the story of a strange car. It's the moment when Detroit dared to forget every rule, just to prove that sometimes reason has to give way to madness. The story of the El Camino actually began with a slap from its lifelong rival, Ford. In 1957, Ford shocked the nation by launching the Ranchero, the first hybrid vehicle in American history, a sedan in the front and a pickup bed in the back. No one believed it would succeed, but Americans fell in love with the idea of a car you could work with all week and take on a picnic over the weekend. The Ranchero immediately created an entirely new segment, the car-based pickup, and forced General Motors to take notice. At Chevrolet's headquarters in Detroit, veteran engineers came up with an idea so bold that even people inside GM called it crazy. Instead of building a utilitarian truck, Chevrolet decided to do the opposite, turn a luxury Impala into a truck. From that daring concept, the El Camino was born as a direct challenge to Ford. The front end of the El Camino was identical to the Impala's, a full-width, horizontal grille, low-set dual headlights, and a slim, flat hood that gave the impression of flying rather than driving. But it was the rear that truly captured everyone's attention. The back stretched outward instead of standing upright, expanding into two massive batwings with a raised center ridge, dividing the rear into two parallel planes. Below sat a pair of horizontally placed taillights, a radical departure from the traditional round design, making the car look like a spaceship straight out of a science fiction film. Chevrolet made sure the cargo bed didn't ruin the coupe's silhouette. The bedsides were smoothly curved to blend seamlessly with the car's shoulder line, while chrome moldings ran along the length to add a sense of unity and luxury. From an angle, the El Camino still maintained its low, long, and fluid stance, the sculptural language that defined the jet age. Instead of using a truck chassis like the Apache line, the 1959 El Camino was built on the B-body platform of the Impala. This gave it a semi-unibody structure with X-shaped frame rails running along the body to reduce torsional flex under load. The result was a truck with the rigidity of heavy industry but the smoothness and quietness of a luxury sedan. The front suspension featured independent double wishbones that improved wheel grip and minimized vibrations over potholes, a near-luxury feature for a working vehicle of that era. Meanwhile, the rear used coil springs instead of leaf springs, prioritizing ride comfort over heavy hauling. The bed floor was stamped as a single steel piece, integrated with the wheel arches, with no visible seams, a detail that reflected Chevrolet's obsession with perfection. The 119-inch wheelbase preserved the long, sleek proportions of a coupe, while the wide rear track ensured stability when carrying light cargo. When you step inside the cabin of the Chevrolet El Camino, you immediately forget that this was ever considered a truck. There is no austerity, no smell of oil, no stiff vinyl seats. Instead, you're greeted by a luxurious space borrowed entirely from the Impala, Chevrolet's most elegant coupe of the time. The parabolic dashboard wraps around the driver, with round, chrome-rimmed gauges reflecting brilliant light. In the center sits a slim two-spoke steering wheel, proudly displaying the shining Chevrolet bow tie emblem. Every knob, door handle, and switch is chrome-plated, not out of necessity, but because Americans in 1959 believed that chrome was the symbol of civilization. The wide bench seat, upholstered in two-tone cloth or leather with arrowhead-style patterns, was directly lifted from the Impala Sport Coupe. Many El Caminos came equipped with a Delco AM radio, heater, and even a Frigidaire air conditioner. Luxuries nearly unheard of in trucks of that era. Large, curved glass panels offered an expansive view, while the headliner was trimmed in soft cloth and bordered with body-colored accents, details normally reserved for premium touring cars. Sitting inside the El Camino, you no longer feel like you're driving a work vehicle. You're piloting a mobile salon, where every piece of steel and every button was crafted to indulge the driver. Under the hood was a diverse range of engines, but the highlight was the 348 cubic inch V8 turbo thrust, the most powerful weapon in Chevrolet's arsenal at the time. Producing up to 315 horsepower and over 400 pound-feet of torque, the El Camino could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 9 seconds, figures that made many sports coupes of the day nervous. The standard 3-speed manual transmission gave drivers a strong sense of control across the power band, while the Powerglide automatic delivered Chevrolet's signature smoothness. Though it wasn't built for racing, the El Camino impressed anyone behind the wheel with its balance of power, comfort, and throttle responsiveness. Its lower center of gravity compared to typical pickups, combined with an independent front suspension, gave the vehicle remarkable cornering stability. Drivers of the time often said the El Camino cornered like a sedan, but hauled like a truck. A vehicle capable of carrying 1,200 pounds while delivering a refined driving experience. That was something truly unprecedented. When the Chevrolet El Camino finally appeared in dealerships, it caused a sensation among journalists and drew crowds at every showroom. Everyone wanted to see Chevrolet's first half-sedan, half-truck with their own eyes. Yet, when it came time to buy, something strange happened. People admired it, but didn't purchase it. Chevrolet had expected the El Camino to reach 50,000 units sold, but in reality, only about 22,000 were delivered during its single production year of 1959. Farmers, mechanics, and shop owners, the main buyers of pickups, felt it was too fancy, too fragile for real work. Meanwhile, sedan enthusiasts couldn't understand why they should pay for a car that had a bed in the back. The El Camino fell into a void between two worlds, too elegant to be a workhorse, yet too practical to be a symbol of luxury. Chevrolet dealers struggled to market it. Was it a sports car or a truck? A tool or a city dweller's toy? No one could answer that question. When sales failed to meet expectations, General Motors had no choice but to discontinue the El Camino after just 1 year. This failure wasn't due to a bad car, but to a market that simply wasn't ready. At the time, Americans couldn't yet imagine a world where one vehicle could both haul cargo and take you to a weekend dance. 4 years after the El Camino disappeared from Chevrolet's lineup, the idea of a sedan pickup hybrid seemed destined to remain nothing more than a strange footnote in automotive history. But then America entered the 1960s, an era when lifestyles were changing rapidly. People no longer wanted just a vehicle to work with. They wanted one that could express who they were. And that was when the El Camino was reborn. In 1964, Chevrolet introduced the second-generation El Camino, this time built on the mid-size Chevrolet chassis, smaller, lighter, and far more practical. Instead of the massive body of the Impala, the new version had a dynamic, modern look with a more balanced ratio between the cabin and the bed. Chevrolet had learned from the failure of 1959. Drivers wanted style, but they also wanted real utility. The 1964 El Camino debuted amid the wave of recreational pickups. Vehicles meant not just for hauling, but for cruising, camping, and weekend beach trips. This time, Chevrolet struck right at the heart of America. The compact V8 engines, sleek proportions, and affordable price quickly gave the car a solid place in the market. Although different in size and spirit, the silhouette of the 1959 El Camino still lingered in its curves and chrome trims. It was no longer a crazy experiment, but a concept that the entire market had come to embrace. As the 1970s arrived, the El Camino could be seen roaring down the highways of California, starring in explosive action films and featured in raspy rock anthems about freedom, speed, and dusty open roads. For young Americans, this was the car for those who refused to be boxed in by convention, a machine that could carry a guitar, a crate of beer, and a pocket full of dreams, then disappear into the sunset along Route 66. By the 1980s, the El Camino entered a new era, the age of SS performance models and the lowrider movement. Cars were lowered, painted in shimmering candy hues, decked out with chrome, and fitted with hydraulic suspensions that made them dance to the rhythm of music. What had once been a laughable idea was now a street icon, symbolizing American freedom, creativity, and individuality. But the El Camino's legacy extended beyond the streets. It influenced the mindset of the entire automotive industry. It was Chevrolet, through the 1959 El Camino, that paved the way for future utility coupes such as the Ford Ranchero, Holden Ute, Subaru Brat, and countless other sedan truck hybrids of the 1980s and 1990s. The idea of a truck with the soul of a passenger car began there, and it lives on today. Though its sales never skyrocketed, the El Camino became a reflection of Detroit's rebellious spirit, the place where engineers dared to turn the illogical into reality. They didn't follow trends, they created them. Later versions like the El Camino SS, 396, and 454 V8 proved that point. Pickups that could burn rubber like a muscle car while still carrying the elegance of a sedan. Today, the 1959 El Camino is considered a four-wheeled treasure among collectors. Its batwing design existed for only 1 year, and its soaring lines remain unlike any other car ever made. Fully restored examples can fetch over $80,000 at auction. People aren't just buying a car, they're buying a piece of memory, a fragment of time when Detroit still believed that nothing was impossible. And now, I want to hear the story from you. If you had the chance to own a classic El Camino, would you restore it to its original glory or turn it into a custom street build with your own signature style? Do you see the El Camino as a bold mistake or as proof of the fearless spirit that once defined the fiery age of Detroit? Share your thoughts below in the comments. I read every opinion, every memory, because it's those stories that bring the soul of these long, silent machines back to life. And if you want to keep exploring more forgotten mechanical legends like this one, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next journey. where those crazy but beautiful machines are still waiting to be rediscovered. See you next time.